3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in the halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne, in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them, in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. Hello and welcome to the Friday Fantasy Show from the Bottled Imp, exploring the realms of fantasy. My name is Ken Boyter and today we're going to be doing 7 Lord of the Rings little known fantasy facts. Oh yeah, who said about short snappy titles? Anyway, The Lord of the Rings was written by J.R.R. Tolkien, as I'm sure you all know, and published in 3 books by George Allen and Owen. That's how you pronounce it. The first book, The Fellowship of the Ring, was published on the 29th of July 1954, The Two Towers on the 11th of November 1954, with The Return of the King being published on the 20th of October 1955. Now these books have been reprinted numerous times and translated into 38 languages and sold over 150 million copies worldwide. That is extraordinary. So obviously we have a love of Lord of the Rings, that's why we're choosing this subject, but why the number 7? Well, 7 is everywhere. You've got the 7 deadly sins from the Bible, 7 heavens, the 7 days of the week, 7 colours in the rainbow, the 7 seas, yeah, you get the picture. Also though, the number 7 is the seeker, the thinker, the searcher of truth, according to numerology. And that's what we're going to be doing here. So let's seek out those facts, those 7 Lord of the Rings little known fantasy facts. And in at number 7, no particular order, because facts are facts, you can't really rank them. But we thought we'd do it exciting if we kind of counted from 7 to 1, didn't we? Anyway, number 7, what does the J.R.R. in J.R.R. Tolkien actually stand for? Well, it stands for John Ronald Reuel. That's R-E-U-L. There we go. Professor Tolkien didn't start writing the story that would become The Lord of the Rings until the fine age of 45. Yeah, a few more years for me yet. And wouldn't be finished until 12 years later in 1949, and then not fully published until 1955, which took Tolkien up to the grand age of 63, although that's pretty young. He did serve as a lieutenant in the Lancaster Fusiliers for 5 years between 1915 and 1920, and he fought in the First World War at the Battle of Somme. He was appointed a Commander of the Order of the British Empire by Queen Elizabeth II on the 28th of March 1972. Obviously, he did loads of other things because, he's a professor as well for a start. But there you go, that's just a brief introduction of who J.R.R. Tolkien is.
Number X.
And at number 6, only one member of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings film trilogy met Tolkien. Christopher Lee, he was the one. He played the corrupt wizard Saruman, and he had the good fortune, I love this story, of just a chance encounter with the author when he was having a pint in a pub. Tolkien walked in and they had a little chat, like you do. Imagine that. Imagine like one of you. And Christopher Lee said that he read The Lord of the Rings at least once a year. He loved the books. And when he found out that Peter Jackson was going to be making the film trilogy, he called his agent and said, I just need to be involved with this. And he'd always see himself as playing Gandalf, but at this time he felt he was slightly too old for it, but obviously he was still involved.
Number 5.
Number 5, yes, is the language first, story second. Unusual as it sounds, Tolkien didn't write his Elvish language to fit in with his story. He created the story to bring the language to life. So he was more interested in actually the language and creating languages and then just kind of going, well, you know what, I want to make this live and breathe, because obviously a language would be a dead language if it isn't spoken and it isn't brought to life. Now this is known as Mythopia. I knew I wouldn't be able to say it. Mythopia. Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. Mythopia. And there are a number of authors that have also done this, and they include C.S. Lewis, William Blake, H.P. Lovecraft, and George R.R. Martin. His writing developed as a personal exploration of his study of philology, which is the language in oral and written historical sources. There you go, I think I got that right. And it's also he wanted to explore religion, fairy tales, Norse mythology, and general Germanic mythology, as well as Celtic, Slavic, Persian, Greek, and Finnish mythology. He was busy.
Oh.
Yes, at number 4 we have the Balrog is not a creature or a demon. Huh? Yes, the common belief is not quite right that it is a creature and a demon. The Balrog is actually a magical spirit, and as such it's incredibly difficult to kill. And in the I can't, what's the matter with me? I'm worse than normal. In the other book that he wrote, the Silmarillion, I can never say that, Tolkien mentions the whole army of Balrogs, and only dragons rival their capacity for the being as powerful for the first age of Middle Earth. They were among the most feared forces.
E.
And at number 3, not the original names. Now we all know that Lord of the Rings is made up of 3 novels: The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. Well, Tolkien initially intended The Lord of the Rings to be 1 volume of a 2-volume set, with the Silmarillion, yes, I think I did it, Silmarillion, being the other volume. But his publishers, they didn't like that idea, they had other ideas. Tolkien also opposed the published titles because he actually suggested some of his own, which was, so the first one would have been The Shadow Grows, and the second one would have been The Ring in the Shadow, and with his other suggested, the last book he suggested, either The War of the Ring or The Return of the King. Number 2 is 5 wizards, not just 3 in Middle-earth. We all know and love the 3 wizards: Gandalf the Grey, Saruman the White, although maybe not love him, yeah, but I think you know why, and Radagast the Brown. Thanks to the hugely successful and much loved Peter Jackson's films, they're out there now, we know about them, the common folk know about them. But there are in fact 2 more powerful wizards of Middle-earth. They are Altar the Blue and Faldando the Blue. Maybe Tolkien had run out of colours by then. And coming in at no particular order, but we just happen to be putting it at number 1, is that there is power in all of the rings. Sauron the Dark Lord created not just 1 powerful ring, but 20 as part of his design to win domination over Middle-earth. The one ring to bind them all possesses great power, which is invisibility, extends life, and control over the other 19 rings of power. The 3 rings forged for the elves of Eragon. The first ring is named Nara and is adorned with a red gemstone, probably a ruby. It has the power to inspire others to resist tyranny, domination and despair. The second ring was Nenya, and that was made of mithril and adorned with a white stone, probably a diamond. It's also known as the Ring of Adamant, Ring of Water, and the White Ring. And its power gives preservation, protection, and possibly concealment from evil, because there is a secret power that holds evil from the land. And the third of these rings was named Vilya, and it's maybe of gold. It was made of gold, but the possible gem is a great blue gem, and it's possibly a sapphire. Wasn't too specific with that. Also known as the Ring of Air, the Ring of Firmament, or the Blue Ring. and it's considered the mightiest of these 3 rings, but unfortunately the exact power of Vilya is not mentioned, so we don't quite know what it does. It is plausible to speculate, though, that it possesses the power to heal and to preserve. The 7 rings, though, they are for the Dwarf Lords, and their power of these rings is that they create wealth for the Dwarf Lords. Tolkien does not explain how this is done, apart from that the ring needs gold to breed gold. And the ring, all these rings, all the 7 ones for the Dwarf Lords, they all do the same. They excite the wearers to their sense of greed. It sort of opens up their sense of greed. And these rings, unlike the One Ring, they don't extend life, they don't make you invisible, nor do they succumb directly to Sauron's control, though he could still influence them through anger and greed. And then the 9 rings for mortal men. Sauron gave 9 rings to kings, sorcerers and warriors of old, and the warriors became the Nazgul, spirits of terror, from which Sauron could then command without even the One Ring. So the power rendered the Nazgul invisible in their life, and their lives are extended indefinitely. But they did become Sauron's chief servants, so they basically became slaves. And there you have it, 7 Lord of the Rings little known fantasy facts. There we are, 7 little known Lord of the Rings fantasy facts. Hopefully you enjoyed those, because obviously Lord of the Rings is such a vast world and universe. There's so much has been written about it. There are plenty of facts out there, so maybe we'll do some more of those. And we're going to be picking up some other topics as well to do facts about. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe. We do other things on the Friday Fantasy Show, like reviews, and we've got a writing series. So if you ever fancied writing fantasy, I had a book published, and so I thought I'd share that journey about writing, my experiences. Thank you once again, and remember to keep it unreal, especially if